as I have been left alone defending the case of regional integration, I will try not only to refer to the European Union but to other examples of regional integrations, and I will also try to speak to people who are already convinced that the regional integration in the north of Africa would be a great idea. So to sum up my intervention is that, well, first of all, that regional integration is good for you, is good for all of us, on the other hand, and that the European Union priority must be, if regionally speaking, must be the north of Africa region, the so-called the MENA region. So these are the two ideas I would like to express here today. As Dr. Madrid has said, in globalization, national states have become too small to cope with the global problems alone, by themselves. And on the other hand, they are perhaps sometimes too big in order to cope with problems that affect more directly to the citizens. So this is a double process of transfer of sovereignty upward. Well, it's being put into question, although there is a firm commitment from all the member states appartening to this monetary union to defend the currency even in these terms. And the only way to do it is not with less Europe, but with more Europe, with more regulations, with more economic integration, with more fiscal integration. And last but not least, this model has been also quite successful in coping with global problems such as money laundering, such as international crime, organized crime, terrorism, throughout a common space of justice and internal affairs, and a kind of an embryo of a foreign policy which is not yet completed and should be completed. And one of these completions, one of these aspects, perhaps the most important aspect, is how we can cooperate with a priority region for the European Union, which is the MENA region. The European Union has, since its inception, has been very active with the MENA region. First of all, it was with the Global Mediterranean Policy. Then it was called the Barcelona Process. Then the Union for the Mediterranean, and finally the European Neighborhood Policy, where the MENA region occupies a very important part of the European Union support, especially after the Arab Spring. The behavior of the Europeans towards the MENA region have been different from each other. On the one hand, the members individually considered has been more defending short-term interests. For instance, terrorism, the contention of migration flows, purchase of weapons, so on and so forth, promoting this relationship over the promotion of democratic governments and being more tolerating with autocratic regimes. In the wrong belief that autocratic regimes are a shield against extreme Islamism, when extremism is precisely a byproduct of totalitarian states. Whenever there is freedom, there is no actually a real danger, because all the movements, political movements integrated into a democratic system are by definition moderate. in contrast to this behavior of individual member states, there has been a more long-term view of the European Union towards the MENA region, the MENA countries. As I said, there have been many names on this cooperation between the two shores of the Mediterranean, but they have a common characteristic that it has been too Eurocentric, that is to say, more unilaterally imposed by the European members, the European Union, that the rules of free trade has been not balanced, because in free trade is not just opening the borders to what the European Union thinks they need, but also to what the European Union is producing. So there has not been an open market for agriculture, and agricultural products are the main, or they were the main export items for the MENA region countries. There has been also a mismatch between the means and the ends, and the lofty ends and very scarce means, even if the funds may seem quite important, but they have been scattered in not a very coherent way. And last but not least, by importing the Arab-Israeli problem into the process, has not been a facilitator of a good, stable relationship with the whole region. So, in view of all this, let's say, setbacks and inconveniences, the European Union, after the Arab Spring, has changed their mind and have taken into account one very important question that was already launched during the last decade of Latin American integration, when they said, how much poverty is democracy going to bear? And of course, democracy is something very good for everyone, is perhaps the most efficient system to live together. But of course, it needs also to be reinforced by economic prosperity, by economic development. And this is why the European Union has launched this partnership for democracy and shared prosperity in the south of the Mediterranean, which is based upon three main areas. One is democracy and institutions. The second is civil society, reinforcing the relationship with civil society and the government institutions. And last but not least, development, right? Putting the accent on small and medium enterprises, in education and in vocational training. As you must be aware of this approach, which consists of more for more, that is to say, the more integration, the more similarities with the human rights and the rule of law, etc., the more would be the support of these three areas, and concentrated on these three M's, money, markets, and movement. Movement of goods, movement of individuals, movement of workers. And finally, which I think this is the other aspects of the equation, is to fostering more integration in the MENA region by itself, more regional integration. Regional integration is good for you not only because of it gives you a better economies of scale. It is also good because of the problems that may be among the members of a supranational entity tend to be solved within this constant dealing with partners, and not just with neighbors, just with foreign countries. There is a feeling of appartenance, and most of the problems that can exist, even if they are historically long, among or between two different nations that have become members of the same regional organization tend to be solved by the simple fact of being together. This has been the case of the relationship between France and Germany, for instance, inside the European Union. And I tend to be optimistic and also to think if there will be we could resuscitate, and I'm going to make a strong plea for that, the AMU, that is to say the Union for the Arab Maghreb, which is an old aspiration which has not yet been carried out, then I am sure that it will be also a facilitator of a more understanding between countries that nowadays are looking back to back. I'm referring mainly to Morocco and Algeria, where there is no open border, an open border, and there is an open trade, an open commerce between two crucial big countries in the Maghreb. And this is why I think there are many problems between two countries. These problems may be solved, in my opinion, much better in an integrated area. And if there is also a precondition there is still a problem to this problem, which is the Western Sahara problem. I think it could be much easily solved within this framework of an area of cooperation and of integration. In my opinion, the integration in the north of Africa is a must. According to the European Bank of Development, is the least integrated area in the world. Is internal trade among the 5 or 6 members of the potential members of the Maghreb Union is only 4%, whereas their trade with Europe, with European Union members, individually or collectively, is around 60%. So the different countries of the Maghreb are integrated de facto with Europe, but they are not integrated at all among themselves. This very tiny digit of 4% contrasts negatively with the intra-trade figures of other regional supranational integration areas, such as ASEAN in Asia, which is 35% of trade in ASEAN is internal trade, and in the European Union, as you know, trade between countries in the European Union amounts to 60% of the trade, of the total trade. There has been also carried out a study by the World Development Bank, the African Development Bank, that the cost of the non-integration in the north of Africa is around 2 to 3 points of GNP. That is to say, if there was an integrated area, these 3 points would be put over the 2.3, 2.6 average rate of growth, which will amount nearly to 6% of rate of growth, which is exactly the amount that the different countries will need to create 6 million jobs in the coming years. Because nowadays the region is creating only half of that figure. So, for all these reasons, for the economic reasons, trade reasons, and political reasons, I firmly believe that the integrated area in the Maghreb, among the 5 or even 6 countries, if we consider also Egypt as a possible member of this region, would be of the utmost importance. You see, there are still barriers for services. There are still barriers for trade, as I said, between Algeria and Morocco. There is not a regulatory framework for foreign direct investment, which can attract investments in the region. Communications are not yet completed.
earth communications, the Maghreb Highway, freedom of aviation, air flights among the three countries, the five countries, would be very important. Just to give you an idea, in the Andean Pact, there are 7 million travelers by air within the area, which is 18 times more than the flights among the countries in the Mediterranean region. So this is something that, of course, I firmly believe. This is something that my organization, the organization I belong to, the Club de Madrid, which is composed of more than 90 former heads of government and state who are willing to increase sustainable growth in the world and also a democratic system, would be very, very, very happy if they could work to raise awareness and to reach out to different institutions in these countries in order to promote this idea of a further integration, following the European model or following any other model, because integration by itself, not only the European one, is a good thing for you. Thank you very much.